Today's video is one of my most exciting yet, and that's because we're talking all about money and more specifically how I earned over 16,000 US dollars teaching on Skillshare. For my South African audience, this is about 265,000 Rand, and for my Indian audience, that's about 1.2 million rupees. Now, there is nothing worse than a scammy video on the internet about making money online, so let me give you all the context so that this is the opposite of that. I had previously self-hosted a social media marketing course on Teachable, and I'd spent a lot of time perfecting the slides and releasing it as an 8-week course. But because I had no email database and, well, no budget, it launched to mixed success. So I managed to get great traction locally by offering the course for free to a primarily South African audience, but I had so many insecurities around whether it was the correct format, how the price point was, and whether the packaging was actually correct for the material. So fast forward a couple of years, I watched an Ali Abdal video breaking down his passive income streams, where he mentioned that Skillshare was a significant part of his income. Having all but forgotten about my mixed bag course, I was keen to relaunch the content in a better shot, better edited, and crucially better packaged way on Skillshare. I called it an introduction to social media marketing, and I managed to film, edit, and upload it in 1 week. Not recommendable. Well, that weekend has pretty much changed my life. I fell in love with Skillshare's monetization model based on royalties and referrals, and by comparison, my income from Skillshare has far outweighed that from Teachable, YouTube, and Udemy combined. I'm about to launch my 13th course, I think it is. Info in the description box below, of course, which is all about digital copywriting, and I could explode with pride as this project has been shot, edited, and produced entirely by me, all while working a full-time job. You know what? I think it's actually one of my best. It has the most actionable insights and is probably the most transformative course yet. So more on that later. Into today's video where I share how since that weekend I've managed to earn over 16,000 US dollars on the platform in a lot of detail. So strap in for an analytics deep dive and of course my top tips and tricks. I would like to help you to do the same, but first I would like to shout out today's sponsor, which is Audio with 2 Eyes. They recently created and launched their all-inclusive Audio Pro package, which is an annual music and sound effects subscription providing unlimited download access to over 6,000 hand-picked tracks and over 30,000 sound effects. The Audio Pro plan actually covers any commercial usage, so that means that content creators and filmmakers like me can download the tracks and the sound effects and use them in any digital form without concerns of updating audio on the use. That means you simply have to download and use the music as you like. Wait, what? All the assets downloaded in the subscription period are for the content creator to use forever. So even if you were to decide not to continue with audio into a second year, all the assets downloaded through the subscription period would remain at your disposal. For a limited time, they're offering annual access to their Audio Pro plan for 70% off, driving the price down to only 60 US dollars for the whole year, which is about $5 per month. I've also linked their Savage playlist for you guys down below so you can see how audio is truly disrupting the royalty-free music industry and turning it on its head with the least generic and most original partnerships. I am so passionate about brands like Audio and Skillshare, which bring creators' dreams to life. There is literally no better feeling than being able to focus on what I do best, which is making courses and sharing the process over on YouTube. Let's jump into the numbers first so I can explain exactly how those earnings work over on Skillshare.
So here you can see the total lifetime earnings on Skillshare is 14,876 plus what needs to be paid for September. So there's a range given here because the teacher's revenue is really very dependent on how big the total revenue pool was for that month. So that's why they give you an estimate up front. Then by the 15th of the following month, so for example, it's the 27th of September today, so effectively by the 15th of next month, they will be able to give you an accurate figure of exactly where you landed in terms of this range, and then that is what gets paid into your PayPal account. Because I'm in South Africa, I get paid from PayPal into an FNB online profile, which then links to my bank. So really, there is a little bit of tweaking that you have to do there in terms of getting set up. But otherwise, it's pretty straightforward. So my lifetime revenue is obviously around about the 450 to 590 mark, added to this 14,800 mark. And then you can go into minutes watched and toggle this between days, weeks, and months just to see the peaks in traffic. You will often note, for example, in January, it's traditionally a very strong month for Skillshare, whereas there's other little bit weaker months. Maybe this is summer holidays in Europe or America. And then students, for example, you can also do the exact same thing, days, weeks, and months. And then finally, what's most useful is your earnings breakdown by month. So again, it just repeats that number, and then it shows you what the split is between the royalties and the referrals. So what you'll notice is from March 2022 and prior, you were basically getting $10 per student referred. So if you referred 7 students, you'd earn $70, 2 students 20, 5 students 50. And then this referral model changed as of April 2022, where effectively you get a percentage of the annual subscription. So Skillshare did a big push to move people across to only annual subscriptions, whereas previously you could get month-to-month subscriptions. And then they attribute that sale to the referring teacher, which means that you're getting a percentage of their annual membership. So you get a lot higher figure, but you need to be very focused in terms of driving quality students as opposed to quantity students, because of course, as soon as someone refunds, then you are also now liable, if you will, for that refund. It's really trying to incentivize better qualities of referrals, which is good for everyone. So definitely agree with them there. If you have any FAQs, you can go through their payment FAQs over here. And then I would love to do a subsequent video breaking down the splits between the classes. But just as a top line, basically social media marketing was the weekend course that I'd created that has 2,600 students. How to become a YouTuber has 1,500. And then you'll see there's quite a few that just have around the 500 mark. If I click on view all classes, you'll notice that this is the class I'm about to hit publish on. Super excited about it. Just to give you an overview in terms of what is sitting there, it's all about what a copywriter does, the ABCs of copywriting, golden rules for copywriting, how to know your audience, the not so humble call to action or CTA, writing copy for newsletters, writing video scripts, starting blogs, just all the good stuff. And then I poured a lot of attention into the SEO side of things too. So coming soon, I'm about to hit publish on that bad boy. And then if I go out, you can see the longer tail in terms of the smaller classes that just sitting with, around the 200 to 600 mark, and that they're all, of course, social media marketing focus. So I hope that really helps you to better understand how the royalty versus referral thing works and the level of analytics that you do have access to. If you have specific questions, obviously, please do pop them down below and I can address them in a subsequent video.
Next up, let's discuss my top 5 tips for emulating the success on Skillshare and getting it right the first time. I love sharing in my mistakes openly, as I hope that it'll save other people the time I wasted in this journey of trying to become an online instructor. Alright, so my very first top tip is all about topic. Right, so this is going to be the single greatest determinant of whether or not your class is a success on the Skillshare platform. So really what you're going to want to have a look at is the link in the description box below, which is the latest resource I can find where Skillshare actually references what topics are most popular. And this is going to save you a whole lot of headache when you realize that the course you've created there is very little demand for on Skillshare. So one of the insights with Skillshare, especially when compared to something like Udemy, is that it is very creatively led. That means that even some marketing topics sit on that fringe of, is this too technical? And Udemy, on the opposite end of the scale, is almost like the too technical kind of like development style courses, which oftentimes are lower production value and it's just a screencast, oftentimes with no one's face attached to it, talking you through maybe a coding exercise. So Skillshare really does value production quality. So if you watch any of their originals or their staff picks, you will notice just how incredible quality of these classes are. They are next level. Obviously, some of them are produced by Skillshare, but they're really setting the bar at which they want people to produce content. So you're basically going to have to hone in on a topic and wrap your head around how you can present that topic in the most creative, engaging, and highest production value way. So for me, it's not to say that I've spent huge amounts of money on expensive equipment. I have an entry-level Canon mirrorless camera. I will link the model down below. I also have a very cheap teleprompter, which I bought off of Takealot, which is like South Africa's Amazon, and a Rode VideoMic Pro, which you can't see, which is off camera, which was also pretty affordable. So in terms of my setup, it's nothing crazy, but definitely I have gone to lengths in order to produce these classes to make them feel like they are very well scripted and edited. I edit using Vinci Resolve, which is a free software, which I have come to know and love. I started on the Mac suite of products using iMovie, and then just decided that I needed to kind of grow up, and I think I will eventually end up on Final Cut Pro, but definitely DaVinci Resolve has been amazing for me to get to grips with a professional grade editing software. So in terms of the topic quandary, I want you to make a little Venn diagram, which is basically going to show the kinds of things that you're able to teach, the kinds of things that are popular on Skillshare, and where your passion points sit. So for me, I have a background in digital marketing strategy. It just so happens that social media is probably the most popular topic to teach within digital marketing. It's not to say that it's necessarily the only thing that I can do, but certainly I've found that it's been the most ROI in terms of courses I've produced. And then in terms of my passion, I love ideas and trends and that sort of thing. So I really kind of lean towards maybe the less technical side of social media and more in terms of these are the ways in which you can push the boundaries of social media and social media strategy. This is going to be different for everyone. For example, the new course that I'm about to launch is about digital copywriting. Although I'm not a copywriter that's been copywriting for the last 10 years. It's definitely been at least 20% of my role for the last 10 years. So even though it's not 100% my day job, I do and have felt equipped in order to teach that. But certainly I wouldn't veer much further outside of digital marketing. So once you've got that topic and you are confident in it, there are other ways to stress test it. I always suggest looking at Google Trends, which is able to show you search traffic, and then also looking at Udemy's insights. Although it won't be exactly accurate, definitely it's going to give you a good idea in terms of search volumes and search interests as a proxy. But as I mentioned, obviously Skillshare is a little bit more creative, where Udemy has that technical edge. All right, so with topic out the way, you're going to then take the time to structure the course in a way that's going to make the most sense for beginners. So C.S. Lewis talks about the curse of knowledge. We want to avoid the curse of knowledge, and we want to make things really palatable, easy to digest, and most of all, fun. Learning is meant to be fun. That's where I found the most joy teaching online, is really through finding exercises and finding tasks that are going to actually bring a topic to life. The other thing I love about Skillshare is that the classes are centered around a task or an assignment. So that really encourages that one-to-one interaction between the student and the teacher as well. So with Udemy, I do find there's more of a disconnect there. It feels like you're further from your students, although they can obviously engage with you, whereas Skillshare is definitely set up to foster that engagement. There are some changes coming to the Skillshare platform, which means Skillshare will heavily be incentivizing that teacher engagement. So definitely it's front of mind for them as well. But when it comes to breaking down that course structure, obviously making sure that there is a task or assignment that is central to the topic that you're teaching, and then thinking about the projects that people can then upload to that section and how you're going to then engage them in terms of giving them encouragement and giving them positive feedback. My third top tip is around format. So the first couple of Skillshare classes that I did, I was a little bit nervous and probably not as natural sitting and chatting to a camera. Also, I did not yet have my teleprompter. So my way around doing this was actually just creating Google Slides and using the Slides Go templates. There are such amazing templates on that website that allow you to create top-notch slides. And then I would use something like Loom or even just Apple's inbuilt recording functionality to record my screen. Alternatively, you can also use Zoom to do this. And basically it was alternating between those sorts of screen share walkthroughs and maybe a little bit of talking head shots, but not a lot. Now, and I'd say the more pro approach would be just to do talking head shots, maybe with one or two visuals like interspersed every couple of seconds, but not speaking through a huge slide deck. What this does mean though is you spend a lot more time in course production writing the script, because you've moved from taking the time to create the slides to actually taking the time to create the script. So for the digital copywriting course, I actually ended up producing a 42-page script, word for word, breaking down exactly how I wanted to articulate concepts, which can be quite technical, especially around search engine optimization and those sorts of considerations. I didn't just want to speak to slides. I really wanted to get the wording exactly right, because I wanted to make sure that I was articulating all the terms correctly, as well as offering actionable tips at every point. So you do have to make a little bit of room for smoke and mirrors when it comes comes to your Skillshare course production, because for example, I only shoot on one camera, but you'll notice that on my intro clips, it looks like I'm shooting on 2 or 3. So basically all this is me speaking to my teleprompter and then moving the camera with each take, and then stitching those takes together and making it look like it's one seamless take. To be frank, actually, with that particular course, it was shot over 3 days. So everything from my earrings changed to my nails, you name it, the lighting, everything. So I was doing my best to kind of emulate that studio setup, but because I'm not a professional, I don't have professional video editing qualifications. At some point, I do just have to let go of perfection and be like, Lord, this is the best I can do. So in terms of the format, you're really going to want to keep things simple initially, and then in time, you can start to draw inspiration from things like staff pics or the Skillshare originals. This is going to help to give you a lot of idea and understanding around the importance of multiple camera angles and keeping people engaged. So the Skillshare recommendation is videos between 20 and 40 minutes performing the best. However, in my experience, actually you can go quite a bit longer than that. My classes will vary between the 1 hour and the 2 hour mark, and I found this to be quite a good sweet spot. Also bearing in mind that you're earning royalties, it does play in your favor to make slightly longer courses. However, they do need to be extra engaging. Number 4 is all about self-promotion. So this is the one thing that although you are publishing to a marketplace, you still have to get comfy with self-promotion. As an introvert, I do struggle with this still, but I found that something like LinkedIn is quite an easy way in which to sell your courses, because there you're able to put forward quite a professional persona. It doesn't have to necessarily focus on any parts of your private life, which for me is a huge win, because with things like Instagram, I feel like there's that expectation to show a lot of like behind the scenes stuff, which I don't always feel is necessarily in alignment with my personality, which is a little bit more private and introverted. So I love LinkedIn because I feel like there is a little bit of that professional facade, but you might find that other platforms are more natural for you. And of course you want to be where your audience is, and any kind of traffic that you can drive to your course initially is going to massively benefit your organic reach on the platform. It does work with an algorithm like any other social media network. So the more promotion that you're doing on your side initially within that first kind of 24-hour period is going to be crucial. So if you have an email database, it is a good idea to leverage that, bearing in mind that something like MailChimp gives you the ability to email up to 2,000 consumers for free, provided that they've opted in, as well as all the other cool new functionality like Instagram guides, Instagram reels. All of that is really going to go a long way in terms of pushing the course, and you can actually generate free links for friends and family, which is another great way to do some self-promotion. So unfortunately, even us introverts cannot get away from that. And number 5 is done is better than perfect. I have to tell myself this multiple times a day, just to remember the fact that actually it is a full-time job just creating courses, because I already have a full-time job. That is not my reality, and so therefore I really do need to be creative in terms of how I leverage freelance editors when I know that there's going to be a busy period at work, how I manage that in terms of my Skillshare workload, being kind to myself and making sure that I'm not creating something that I actually don't feel like maintaining or that isn't going to bring the joy to my life. So that's why I love creating videos like this one, which really remind me how far I've come. I cringe when I watch some of my initial courses, but that is the reality for everyone. So whether you're starting a YouTube channel or a Skillshare profile, you're going to battle with this, but you just have to get started and not listen to other people. I've said it once before and I'll say it again, don't let the bastards get you down when it comes to negative feedback. I like to really think about constructively, what can I take from this feedback, and then I just move on. My whole purpose is really to help people. I'm not for everyone, and that's okay too. So really just finding my tribe online as I do in life and turning my face towards the sunshine. So I hope that these tips have been helpful. If you do have any particular questions around the royalty model, the referral model, or anything else that we've discussed in this video, I would be only too happy to help. And another huge shout out to Audio. Please do remember that that discount code is linked down below as well as my link. There you're going to be able to access such a rich library of amazing sound effects and amazing royalty-free music that is just going to up level those Skillshare classes, those YouTube videos, you name it. It's really going to be a game changer like it has been in my business. I can't wait to see you in the next video so that we can keep on doing digital better.